Shalom, calls the limelight, Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai Bashem Kakdash, the honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, who rule and teach well, and send your Shalom to the 144,001 Now, I'm outside, getting in a nightly walk, and got this spirit hopped on me. Got a few articles lined up. Things are popping off. These devils, these Edomites, which is so-called white man, right? White woman, white child. They are the biblical Edomites mentioned in the Bible. All right, Genesis 25 and 25. First came out red all over like a hairy garment. All right, roughly paraphrasing. And these devils were given authority to control the earth and wickedness by the sword, which is, I believe, Genesis 27th chapter, when Esau was given a blessing, which went to his descendants, known today as the so-called white man. But biblically, they're called the Edomites, all right? And these devils are getting ready to usher in some draconian measures, okay? And they're going to create a problem so they can get a reaction and then have a solution ready, which is going to be the MOTB. Now, recently, past week or two, you had this, I'm going to read it verbatim, during a December 2025 interview on CNBC. Kramer, the co-founder of Checkpoint and CEO of Cato Networks, argued that the U.S. government needs to limit the First Amendment to control social media platforms and prevent the spread of AI-driven misinformation, cyber warfare. And this was in their playbook for decades. They put it in a video game, Metal Gear Solid 2. All right, everything that's happening right now with this AI, this digital ID, and deep fakes, literally had the playbook written out and exposed in Metal Gear Solid 2. Okay, and that game came out in the early 2000s. All right, before even Facebook and social media was even a thing, you know. And then, of course, he gives his reasoning, which is his BS. And then his proposal is he advocated for government control over social media. So guess what? Authoritative actions. Here's the reaction. His comments drew significant backlash from free speech advocates and conservative political figures in the U.S. who immediately condemned the idea of restricting constitutional rights. Yeah, these Edomites are divided. They're not going to allow these small hats and the elites to fully go with this MOTB plan. They tried to put a ID of, you have to confirm your ID here in Texas would start in January 1st, but it got blocked as unconstitutional. So these devils are divided. You know, everything isn't, these devils aren't planning everything out. You know, they're playing in the hands of the Most High Yahweh. They're still men. They're not masterminds. Okay. These Edomites, okay, for a time being, had leverage. They had control. They had competency. But guess what? They're still men. They're not gods. They're not princes of the power. Okay, they're not Israelites. Okay, and even Jake fell. Right, we couldn't keep the law, statutes, commandments because the Most High Yahweh set it up that way. Because that's all it is. The Most High Yahweh set everything up. You know, Yahweh said what? He can raise up rocks. Okay. So let's get actually let me get that. Since I made mention of a very critical point. Let me get that. This is Matthew 3:9. And think not to say within yourselves, we have Abraham to our father, for I say unto you that God is able of these stones to raise up children to Abraham. So guess what? The Most High Yahweh can he's a master of what we call science. Science just means to know something. because the Most High Yahweh created everything. He can take a piece of paper, all right? He can take nothing, literally nothing, and turn it into something. You know, no man can take nothing and turn it into something, but Yahweh can. All right, and the elect will too, because Yahweh shy. All right. So guess what? The Israelites are special because the Most High Yahweh made us special. All right. The Edomites are special because the Most High Yahweh made the Edomites special and all the other nations and whatever else. But guess what? We know the end of this devil, and we know the beginning of the Israelites. Okay. Let's I got some scriptures lined up. Let's go to Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter. This Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter, and verse 8. A time to love. Actually, let's scroll up for more context. This is from the top, verse 1. Everything, there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. There you go. So let's get verse 8 again. A time to love and a time to hate. A time of war and a time of peace. And we're in time of war. You got, as you can see, I got things lined up going into war. Venezuela just got conquered by Babylon the Great, and guess what? They already set up a puppet president who's catering to the small hats. You know, you can't make this up. They're catering to the small hats right now. Video footage, saw it on social media. Maybe I'll post it on a short, maybe not. But just look it up. It's not going to be hard to find. Let's get speaking of Amalek, right? Let's get this right here. Go to Numbers, 24th chapter. There's Numbers, the 24th chapter, and verse 10. And it reads, actually, hold on. Okay, this is Numbers, the 24th chapter, verse 20. And when he looked on Amalek, the small hats over there, the people that are claiming they are the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, when they are the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Esau. And when he looked on Amalek, he took up his parable and said, Amalek was the first of the nations. I mean, think about it. A country gets conquered by the U.S., and they're immediately catering to the U.S. and those people in our land. So what does that tell you about who is in control? All right. And said, Amalek was the first of the nations, but his latter end shall be that he perish forever. Yeah, these devils, these Edomites, guess what? They're going to captivity. All right. Once it's all said and done, once World War III ends, once the Israelites win, once we get the new bodies, we're going to go around. All the one wrote this out party elect. We're going to go around. We're going to round up these Edomites, okay? And then we're going to put them in captivity. You know, we're going to put them, we're going to torture them, we're going to do whatever we want to them. And then once we're done with them, we're going to exterminate them. You know, it's going to be a big old fire. We're going to put them in the pit, light them up on fire. They're going to be screaming, all right, burning up, melting, turning into dust, turning into, you know, and there's going to be no more Edomites. That's their end. They're going to go out, they're going to go outside, right? Because that's how the Most High Yahweh set them up, and they're wicked. All right, they're always going to be wicked. That's why the Most High Yahweh is going to take them out. So let's get some more articles I got lined up. Bear with me. Connection a little slow. Okay, boom, here we go. Conservatives push back on Israeli billionaire calling for limitations on the First Amendment. You know, people not for this. Why would an American be against the Constitution? You know? Like that's how you're gonna get your nose wiped. And he said, and then the small hat that made the comment, the tech billionaire dude, he said, we need to limit the First Amendment to protect the First Amendment. What, that doesn't even make sense. that's an oxymoronic statement. Boom, I will always defend the First Amendment as Florida governor. Former Florida GOP rep Matt Gaetz, or however you pronounce his name, pushed back on Kramer, saying, "No, we aren't going to do this." There you go. And there's more. There's more than that. But this article's taking a toll on loading. Let me go to Denmark. Okay, boom. Before I get this with Denmark, let's get this right here. This is Jeremiah, the 50th chapter, and Jeremiah, the 50th chapter, and verse 45. Therefore hear ye the counsel of Yahweh, that he hath taken against Babylon, and his purposes that he hath purposed against the land of the Chaldeans. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitation desolate with them. So guess what? These small hats are gonna get Babylon the Great involved over there in Western Asia. And guess what's gonna happen? Babylon the Great is gonna get destroyed because of that. It's gonna put them in a bad predicament. And it's already been happening now, right? Babylon the Great's already over there. It's already been established. It's just gonna intensify, okay, into a World War III all-out war scenario. Okay, it's just that simple. Can't get more simpler than that. Okay, Denmark's prime minister says Trump is serious about wanting Greenland takeover. January 5th, Denmark's prime minister Mette Frederiksen, whatever, said on Monday that she believes U.S. President Donald Trump is serious about wanting to take over Greenland, and that both Denmark and Greenland have clearly rejected his ambition. So Greenland is a territory of Denmark. It's not its own separate sovereign land. All right. So guess what? This all is gonna showcase. What does this all mean? Where does this make its rounds in prophecy? Where does this line up in prophecy? All right. So here we go right here. This is St. Matthew 12:25. And Yahushua knew their thoughts and said it to them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. There you go. These Edomites are divided. You got Babylon being more pompous, more proud, than the rest of these other Edomite countries, and you see it on the world. If you're an American, even if you're a Jake, if you're a heathen, if you're an American, you get more status than these other countries. Americans are looked at as better than Europeans, than better than Australians, better than pretty much every other country. There's no country where you go to anywhere in the world and you're going to have higher status. It even can usurp racism. You could be a so-called black man from Babylon the Great, okay, and you can have a so-called white man from Germany, and the people you're dealing with may be racist towards you, but you're an American, so that American will surpass the racism. That's how pompous Babylon the Great is. That's how much of a golden cup this place is. You understand? No. All right. Through the spirit of Paul Satar and Elder Malcolm, all right, coined Trump Nero. Now through the spirit believe so too. And I had an AI overview, but it looks like it's not going to line up, and my connection just went out. Let me see if I can get it back going. Probably not. All right. So that's all good. All right. I can just do that later. I can work some out. Do a add-on edition, not a part two, but another lesson. I'll go into that because Nero was doing similar things to what Trump's doing now. All right. Let's you see right here, Europeans must ensure their own security. Turkey's foreign minister. And Europe and Turkey, if you paid attention, they're kind of sort of playing teeter-tottering about being part of the EU and whatever else. Turkey's not a part of the EU yet, but there's talks of Turkey entering the EU. So Turkey is somewhat considered a part of the EU. Turkey's Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan on Monday underlined the need for Europeans to ensure their own security, calling it an existential need. But guess what? We already know Turkey is going to take Russia's side, Gomer. All right, and they probably already thinking in their minds that when shit boils up, shit pops off, they're going to align with Russia. Even if they're not thinking it now, we know through prophecy that they are. It's just that simple, man. Nothing beats prophecy. Nothing beats prophecy. It's just that simple. It's just that simple, man. So here we go right here. Danish Prime Minister warns of NATO's end should Trump invade Greenland. Guess what? Even if Trump's invade England or not, we know this whole NATO alliance, okay, is going down the drain, and this place is going to be destroyed. This place is going to be annihilated. It's just that simple. Let's get this. I'm going to end this off in Revelations, the 17th chapter. This is Revelations, the 17th chapter, and verse 16. And it reads, "And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire." So guess what? That's going to be the UK. Okay, that's going to be France. Whatever else European countries got nukes, they're going to nuke Babylon the Great. So Babylon is going to do something so crazy, so atrocious, that the other Edomite countries with nukes are going to be like, all right, let's take Babylon out. That's how real it's going to get. And this is all the judgment of Yahweh right here, man. Point blank, period. And with that, shalom.